Okay, well, one final trade today, and I'm gonna sleep. And the trade was Taiwan Semiconductors, TSM. Um, this stock has been hard to get into because I know that it is the backbone of the world's high-end semiconductor manufacturing. And the reason why it's hard to get into is, well, since April, which is a kind of a strange time politically, it's been on this tear, right? And the reason is because everybody knows that AI is on the rise, and to fuel AI, you need high end chips. And where do high end chips come from? Well, mostly they come from TSM. So that's why uh, it's been doing so well. And if you look at it fundamentally, I mean, P ratio wise, ain't so bad. I mean, it is a mega cap, so you could question how much more room there is to grow. But risk wise, I always look at PE. Yeah, it's not so bad. So today something happened, which is Trump is considering, hasn't decided, that for some reason the U.S. government is going to now invest in private industries. But yeah, that's what he's saying, and he's saying that he wants to invest to take over 9% of Intel. That's just fucking idiotic because now that announcement has impacted TSM stocks today. But why I think that's nonsense is because Intel and TSM operate on completely different levels. Intel designs chips and then outsources it to OEM shops like TSM who gets the job done. And so it is not really TSM really stealing any business from Intel to begin with to make it into the sort of business in trouble that it is today. Because if you look at Intel, and I didn't know this until I looked at it today. But all right, Intel is enjoying a pop today, but that's because of the stupid ass news. But look, guys, I mean, Intel has not been doing well financially, and it doesn't look like it knows how to pull itself out. Because if you look at it, I mean, apparently the world doesn't care if the computer is powered by AMD or Intel anymore, so the Intel branding magic is all but gone. Um, and apparently AMD chips perform just as well, and perhaps even better. So, yeah, there's no longer the preference for that in power by Intel um, type of mentality. And also, Intel many years ago had Apple as a big customer when Apple switched over to Intel chips, but then Apple started developing their own chip designing capabilities and started using their own chips in their MacBooks instead, or their Mac computers instead, and then Intel lost a huge part of their business because of that. Okay, so back to Taiwan Semiconductor. Then it's like, all right, where do I find the entry point? Because it had been on the rise, and then it's at its all-time high. I think, yeah, it's at its all-time high. So that goes against all my principles of buying a stock. So for this one, I'm actually not going in as a short-term play. I'm actually going to put more money into it and turn it into a long-term play. Even though it is a mega cap, but if you compare it to Apple and Nvidia, it's still a pretty good deal because Apple is at about 4 times or 4.5 times that market cap right now, and Nvidia is about 5 times that market cap right now. P ratio wise, it's still pretty reasonable. So if you expect it to keep growing over the next 4 or 5 years as a market cap, as a mega cap, then you know, with its reasonable PE, then it's still a very safe bet. So this is probably not one that I'm going to short-term trade. I'm just buying on a slight dip of like 1.8% today because of the Trump news, but I really don't see how the federal government being involved with Intel's business would actually make it better or more competitive. It takes a lot to be a top of the line semiconductor company, and I just don't think by buying some stocks in a failing company that you can save it, especially when the buyer is a federal government who is not experienced at all in managing semiconductor companies of any sort. And like I said, I mean, Intel is actually playing at a different level versus TSM anyway. So that's my take, and I've already made my trade. So we'll see.